Hello, I'm Dave and this is Logan, out once again for a walk in the countryside. Thanks for joining us. Now today we're at the village of Ibberton in Dorset. It's about 7 miles west of Blandford Forum and 5 miles south of Sturminster Newton in the Blackmore Vale. And we're going to be walking a roughly 6.5 mile circular route. Starting at Ibberton, we'll then head southwest to Woolland and then on to Stoke Wake. We'll then explore the Iron Age Hillfort at Rawlsbury Camp before heading to Bulbarrow Hill and then along the Wessex Ridgeway back to Ibberton. Now I'm filming at the end of August. It looks like it's going to be a glorious sunny day, lots of blue sky. Should be perfect conditions for walking. Do come along with us. Okay, well, before we head out into the countryside, let's have a little wander through Ibberton itself. And what better place to start than the pub, the Ibberton. Now the website of the pub states it's a 16th century pub. British History Online records it as early 19th century with a 17th century door. And British listed buildings state that it's late 18th century. But originally it was just 2 cottages, and the pub's first name was the New Inn before changing to the Crown Inn. It certainly shows on a 1902 map. I'm not sure when it actually changed its name to the Ibberton. Oh, this delightful little cottage here. The old schoolhouse indeed was the old school. I think it ceased to be a school in 1946, I'm not sure. And this building here is the old Methodist chapel, built in the 19th century. Oh, I see it's got 1884 up on the wall there. What a gorgeous church, the Church of St Eustace. I think it's one of just 3 churches with this dedication in the south of England. Now, St Eustace was a pagan Roman general who converted to Christianity and was martyred after he had a vision of the cross whilst out hunting. Indeed, I think he is the patron saint of hunters and indeed firefighters, I think. Anyway, as far as the church is concerned, part of the nave and chancel date to between 1380 and 1400. The north chapel and tower was added in the 15th century. The north aisle was added in the 16th century and the porch rebuilt in 1903. I think it's got 4 bells. But it was in a ruinous state at the end of the 19th century. Indeed, I've seen an old picture of it. And in 1892, a temporary church was built of corrugated iron and timber to the south of the village, which was used right up until this church was restored in 1907 to 1909. The temporary church then became a church room and then the village hall, and it's still there today. I think it was refurbished in 2001. Oh, I'll have a little peep inside. And there's the font just by the door. And then just behind it there's the tower, or the base of the tower. And then just passing through the nave, pulpit wooden on the right hand side there, and then just going through into the chancel. I don't think there are any stained glass windows in the church, but it's a very light church, that's for sure. And then beautiful wooden ceiling above, and just to the side of the chancel looks like there's a little chapel as well. Now this is an interesting little view of the church with the wall in front of me because, well, I was doing some research on the internet and I came across some old pictures from the 1930s of a motor racing hill climb, and the photograph was taken right by this wall. One thing's for sure, you could never get any vehicles up here these days. Now Ibberton's a very pretty village and it evolved over time around the springs at the foot of hills. The name derives from the Old English Edbort, which I think is a personal name, and Ton, which means estate. And it was recorded in the Domesday Book as Abrestetona, or something like that. The village has had many owners over the years, including Catherine Howard, the fifth wife of Henry VIII, although I don't think there's any evidence that she ever came here. By the 19th century, ownership had concentrated into the hands of Lord Rivers, and in the mid-1970s, the Pitt Rivers family sold off the bulk of the land to private ownership. Now, our old friend Sir Frederick Treves, in his 1906 book Highways and Byways in Dorset, had a few things to say about the village. Let me read from his book. I'm going to have my glasses for this. The beautiful old-fashioned village of Ibberton, a jumble of thatched cottages, gardens and orchards, lies in a green bay made by a curve in the downs. If the sea could reach it, there would be found, in the place of the village, a sheltered cove in an amphitheatre of hills. The church, which is reached by a flight of 50 steps, is so high up on the slope that the view from the churchyard extends far beyond the northern limits of the county by way of the Blackmore Valley. Now, I might not have been able to find Stackie's Well, but it was mentioned in Sir Frederick's book. Below the church, a spring breaks out of the rock and finds a way through a thicket of fern and bramble to the village. It bears the local name of Stackie's Well. This does not serve to keep green the memory of some worthy well digger of forgotten days, but commemorates the fact that the spring was dedicated to St Eustace. The holy man's name being inconveniently long, the villagers amiably changed it to Stackie. Okay, well, we're now going to leave Ibberton and follow a footpath to the west, heading for a little place called Woolland. Just crossing over a little stream. I think this is one of the little tributaries of the River Divilish, which rises on the northern slopes of Bulbarrow Hill and flows for about 6 miles to join the River Stour upstream of Sturminster Newton to the north of here. Well, there's a sign of late summer, field of hay being cut, just ready to be gathered up now. Our sort of first view of the day as we're walking across a field. It really is quite glorious today. Still heading westwards, fairly flat at the moment, but we will have a bit of uphill climbing to do later on in the walk. Well, one thing that's really great about this walk so far is just about every gate and stile has got a way marker, and the path is very easy to make out. Coming into the little settlement of Woolland, the Domesday Book records it as Winland, and in 1170 it was known as Winlander. Old English, win is land that's well, sort of meadowland. And the building in front of me here, magnificent clock tower, as part of Woolland House. The new manor house was built in 1772. It was then demolished in 1965, and the present house incorporated a refurbishment of stables of the old house, I think. And I was reading that the sculptor Dame Elizabeth Frink lived here. Oh wow, what a beautiful church. I'm not sure what its dedication is. And apparently there have been something like 4 churches on or near the site. 1310, 1547, 1743 and 1856. So this present church here, as I said, built in 1856, consists of a nave, a sort of hexagonal apsidal chancel, a south aisle, a bell turret, a south chapel, a vestry and a south porch. And just in front of it is this quite magnificent yew tree, which apparently could be as old as 2,000 years. We'll have our usual little peep inside. That's looking over to the left where the bell turret is, a lovely stained glass window. Looks like there's just the one bell. And just to the right, there's the font. And then heading towards the chancel, there's a stone pulpit on the left. I love this chancel, I really do, the shape. And look at those stained glass windows, looking quite spectacular in the morning sunshine. And then there's some quite exquisite carvings in the ceiling above in the chancel. Beautiful. And then this must be the south chapel with another splendid stained glass window. Gorgeous church. And this house here, which is just next to the church, well, the original house here was dated from the 16th century. It was then part pulled down and converted into a farmhouse until 1854, when it became the rectory, and it shows on our 1902 map. Well, we've left Woolland. What a cute little church. I was quite taken by that. So we're continuing to head westwards, just past through Hill Farm, and our next destination is a place called Stoke Wake. Oh, quite stunning view. Just looking back at, well, it must be Woolland over there. And the fields still fairly lush and green, even though it's August. Of course, we've had so much rain this year, haven't we? Well, it must be time for blackberries. I think they're going to be okay, but we'll just check. Yep, they passed the test. We're just coming into a little settlement of Stoke Wake, and this is the All Saints Church, built in 1872 on the site of an earlier church, and it consists of a nave, chancel with an apse, a north aisle, a south porch and a bell cote with one bell, but it became redundant and was sold to the owner of the manor farm next door. I think it's now just a farm store. Well, Stoke Wake is very small. It was recorded in the Domesday Book as Stoke or Stock, which is Old English for secondary farmstead, or stoke, the Saxon word for wood or stock. It was owned by the Abbess of Shaftesbury at one stage. A chap called John Wake owned the manor in 1227, hence the Wake bit. Well, Sir Frederick Treves had a few things to say about Stoke Wake. When Stoke Wake is reached, there is a sense of a coming to an end of all things, for the few houses which make up the tiny settlement are lodged in a far hollow at the foot of the hills. So very steep are the downs as they circle around the hamlet that it would seem to be enshrined like an image in a niche in a wall. This green sanctuary is so beset by trees that Stoke Wake is not easy to discover. Were this spot in Japan, there would be a temple, brilliant in red lacquer and gold, far up among the woods, so that the worshipper, after toiling some climb, would feel that he was alone with the mysteries of the world. Well, I certainly agree with him. It's difficult to actually see anything in Stoke Wake, and there's certainly a lot of hills. Looks like we've got another one coming up. Now, this is an important part of the walk for those folk that might be doing the walk after seeing the video. Just coming out of Stoke Wake up a hill, you need to look out for this bridleway sign, which is on the right hand side of the road. You do want to carry on the road. Just how do I put this view into words? Now, it is quite hazy still. But isn't that quite spectacular? So we're going to follow a footpath that goes down the side of this field, and then we start going uphill towards the Hillfort. But oh, well, I'll just let the pictures tell the story. This is one of these walks where you just find yourself stopping every 5 or 10 minutes, A, to get your breath back, but also just to take the views in. And of course, on a day like today, beautiful. Well, we've nearly made it to the top. It looks like we've joined a section of the Wessex Ridgeway, which is that 136-mile long-distance path that goes from Marlborough in Wiltshire all the way to Lyme Regis in Dorset. We're very close to the top now, and it's the top of Rawlsbury Camp, which you can just see behind me. And it's basically an Iron Age hill fort that covers something like 4.5 acres. It's oval shape. There are two main banks with a ditch about 9 metres wide in between, and an inner bank which is 1.5 metres high and about 5 to 6 metres above the ditch. The outer bank's about 1 metre high and 6 metres above the ditch. There's also an outer ditch which is about 7 metres wide and 1 metre deep, and it's situated below the summit of a hill, so some of the defences are in quite a weak position, but terrific views of the valley below though. And the cross you can see there at the top was erected in 1966 and it's been restored since. I've no idea of its significance. I mean, there may have been a Spanish Armada beacon up here in the past, I don't know. Forgive me if I do one final reading from Sir Frederick Treves' book. Towering above Stoke Wake is the bare rampart of Bulbarrow, which forms almost the highest point in the county, on this same bold down as the Celtic camp of Rawlsbury, a formidable ring of earthworks and one of the most commanding hill stations in the south of England. It crowns the skyline of the hill, the northern slope of which is very steep. The defences are made up of double ramparts and ditches, overgrown for many centuries with grass. On the eastern side, where the approach is readiest, the entrenchments are doubled. It is, needless to say, that the view from the summit of Bulbarrow is most magnificent, and I couldn't agree with him more. Hello. I couldn't think of a more beautiful place in the world to go for a ride.
Very lucky to have a ride on Dorset.
What a beautiful horse. What a quite idyllic scene, isn't it? Well, we've left the camp, the Iron Age Hillfort, and now heading eastwards along the side of Bulbarrow Hill and the homeward leg. And the views, well, they're just going to keep on coming, folks. And in fact, most of the remaining part of the walk, we're going to get these sort of views. While approaching the top of Bulbarrow Hill, one of the highest points in Dorset, you can see a radio tower there. That was first erected in 1942, although since 2016 it's been used as a telecommunications mast. Well, we're still very much on the Wessex Ridgeway, following a quiet country road along the top of the hill, but so you keep having to stop to take in these views. And of course, Jack Hargreaves, that well-known television presenter of days gone by, his ashes were spread up here. Of course, his final home, Raven's Cottage, was down in one of the villages below. Aha! Now this is the finger post that I was looking for. So we're going to come off the road that we've been following along the top of a ridge and head back to Ibberton, downhill all the way. And this is the final path that takes us down into Ibberton. It's 1:45, so we're easily going to make it in time for the pub. And here we are back at Ibberton, and in particular the Ibberton, which of course we'll now have to visit purely for research purposes for the video. Well, here we are, relaxing at the end of the walk at the Ibberton, just testing out the ale, pint of Dorset Gold. Lovely. Now we have ordered some chips. They haven't got Logan's favourite crisps, so it's going to have to be some mini bonios. Oh, I tell you, this is just what the doctor ordered. Well, folks, we've come to the end of our walk. We thought we'd do the end scene here at the top of the Iron Age Hillfort. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do give us a thumbs up and a like, and do leave a comment, and do check out our Facebook page, Dave's Countryside Walks. So until we meet again, thanks for watching, and cheerio.